Hi guys, today I'm actually going to be showing you how to set up an IPsec site-to-site VPN that can interlink two separate networks. So if you've got two separate branch networks or a cloud network and an on-premise network, and you want to link the two together, you can actually set up what's called an IPsec VPN so that you can gain full access to both ends. So we're going to be using the Mikrotik cloud hosted router to complete this setup. Mikrotik is a very good router that can accomplish this, and the great part is it's actually a cost-effective and affordable router that actually comes with pretty serious enterprise features that you usually find on very expensive products. So to get started, we're first going to download the Mikrotik cloud hosted router. So go to mikrotik.com. So I'm just quickly going to go to the Mikrotik website, and when you get to the website, click on the software tab. So if you click on software, you just have to scroll down to the cloud hosted router section, and then click on the OVA template download option. So if you choose the OVA template, you do need to have VirtualBox installed on your laptop or desktop for you to be able to then deploy the Mikrotik cloud hosted router. So in the next step, I'm then going to show you how to import this OVA file into VirtualBox, and also how to then set up the connection. Okay, so go to the folder where you actually downloaded the cloud hosted router, the OVA file for the cloud hosted router. Right click on the file and then select open with VirtualBox. So once you actually open the file, you should see a virtual machine import wizard, which actually looks like this. So once you see this, you just need to click on import. So this will actually import the .ova file into VirtualBox. So it's already a pre-made router that you simply need to switch on, and then you can actually start configuring. So we're going to first rename this virtual machine. So if you click on settings, and then we're actually going to name this Mikrotik. I'm just going to name it Mikrotik Oregon. So I'm just say so this is assuming I'm just assuming that probably this router is located in Oregon. So I'm going to name it Mikrotik Oregon. Okay, and then the next thing that we actually need to do is to configure the network on this virtual machine. So you simply need to select the network tab, and then on adapter 1, I'm going to actually set it to a host only adapter, and then I'm actually going to connect it to VBox Net 1. And then we need at least 2 network adapters for the setup. So click on adapter 2 and then click on the enable adapter checkbox. So once you do that, on the attached to drop down menu, choose internal network, and then I'm actually going to attach it to the internet. I'm actually going to leave the default name on this adapter, and then click on advanced, and then on the promiscuous mode drop down, select allow all, and then you also need to do the same thing for the other adapter. So once you've done these changes, actually we need to make a change on the display. I'm actually going to bump it up to 24 megs and then click on OK. Okay, so we've deployed the first Mikrotik router for the first location. So what we're actually going to do now is to import another router for the second location. So go back to the cloud hosted router.ova file, and then select open with VirtualBox. So we're actually repeating the process again for us to create a second router. So click on import, and then once the router has been imported, you now need to do the same thing that we did previously. So click on settings, and then we're actually going to name this router, let me see here, I'm actually going to name it Mikrotik North Virginia. So I'm just assuming that this router is actually located in North Virginia. So we've got a router in Oregon and another router in North Virginia. Okay, so once you've actually done this, you now need to click on network, and then on the attached to drop-down menu, select host only adapter, and then choose VBoxNet 1. Click on advanced, and then set the promiscuous mode to allow all. Once you've done that, click on adapter 2, and then click on enable network adapter, and then on the attached to drop-down menu, select internal network, and then you can also leave the internet name as it is. And then on promiscuous mode, you then also need to then select the allow all option. So once you've actually made these changes, let me just do the same change for video memory actually, and then why is it saying invalid settings here? Let me see. Okay. Okay, so it's complaining about the graphics controller. I hope this works fine. So I'm just going to change it to what it's asking for, and then click on OK. And then I'm actually going to do the same change on the Oregon router. Let me just make those changes as well. Come on. Okay, okay, because usually whenever I deploy a virtual machine, I don't want to see any errors. What is it saying? VMS VGA. That is actually what I'm selecting. I don't know why it keeps going back to the previous option. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Okay, so we've now created two routers here. We've got a router in Oregon and we've got another router in North Virginia. So in the next step, I'm then going to power on these routers. Okay, so I'm actually going to start the virtual machines one by one, and we're actually going to start with the Oregon Mikrotik router. So I'm simply going to start the VM now. And we should actually see it's starting up. And the first thing that I'm actually going to do is to configure the network interfaces, and then we're actually going to connect to this router using the Winbox configuration utility. So it's actually loading the system now. So this is the reason why I like using the .otheras file, because it just imports everything. It just gives you a ready to deploy Mikrotik router that you can actually just start using it right off the bat. So it takes a bit of a moment for it to actually finish loading. So I'm just waiting for it to actually finish loading, and then we can then start doing the configuration. Okay, so it's now asking us to log in. So I'm just going to type in the username admin, and the password is blank. So it's now asking us if we would want to see the software license. In this case, I'm just going to answer no. Okay, so we're actually good to go. So the first thing that I want to check is I want to check the IP addresses, that if there's any IP addresses that have already been automatically provisioned to this router via DHCP. So if you run the command IP address print, so you can actually see that we don't have any IP addresses that have been auto configured. And then let me just check if all the interfaces are there. So I'm going to do an IP interface. I don't think that's right, so I'm just going to say interface print. Okay, so we've got the two network interfaces. So what I'm actually going to do now is to check the IP addresses that I'm actually supposed to be using. So if you open VirtualBox, and then if you click on File and then Host Network Manager. So on I remember I attached it to VBoxNet 1, and the IP range should be 192.168.57.1. That's and it's a /24 network. I'm actually going to configure that now. So I'm going to say IP address, add address. I'm going to give it 192.168.57.200, and then it's going to be a /24 address, and then the interface, I'm then going to attach this IP address to either one, and then hit end. So if we run IP address print, you should then see the 57.200 IP address that we've actually just configured. Let me just see if I can ping 192.168.57.1. Okay, so I can reach that network. So I think we're actually good to go on this router. Let me just see if I can bail out of that. Okay, let me see. Okay, all right. So this router now has a network address, and then I'm actually going to open Winbox now. I'm going to open Winbox now, and then we're then going to actually then try to connect to this router using the Winbox network configuration utility. Let's see if it's actually opening. Okay, should open just about now. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm then going to try to connect to that router, and then here you have it. So I've connected to the router, and then the first thing that I'm actually going to do is to use the quick set feature to quickly configure this router. So on the configuration setting, you need to make sure that the mode is set to router, and then on the internet section, select static, and then there's the static IP address that we actually configured via the terminal interface. And then on the gateway section, I'm going to set it to 192.168.57.1. And then this is optional. You can also set DNS servers 8.8.8.8. And then on the local network section, I'm actually going to set it to 192.168.10.1. And then the subnet mask is /24. And then the next thing to do is to select bridge all LAN ports, DHCP server, and NAT. So my DHCP server range in this case, I'm going to set it to 192.168.10.10 up to 192.168.10.100. Okay, so this is the basic setup that is needed for any Mikrotik router to run. I'm just going to name the router, so I'm just going to name it Mikrotik Oregon. So this is the Oregon one. Let me just confirm that. So it's the Oregon router. Okay, so click on apply and click on OK. And then the next thing actually that I was supposed to do first is to set a password. So if you go on system and then password, and then I'm actually going to set a password now for the router. This is actually the first thing that I was actually supposed to do, so that we don't have anyone connecting to this router who isn't authorized. So system password. We'll type in the password again. And let me type it once more. And click on change. So we've set a password for the router, and then I'm just going to test the passwords just to make sure that I didn't make a typing error, otherwise I'm going to have to start over again. Okay, so Winbox takes a moment to open. Okay, let me just type in the password that I actually set and then hit connect. Okay. Alright, so I think on this router we are now good to go. So I'm actually going to set up the other router. So go back to VirtualBox, and then we're now going to start the North Virginia router. So right click on the VM, then click on start. It's actually supposed to select normal start. So let me see if I can actually open up the console. Okay, show. Okay, so it actually should be showing now, I hope. Let me just start again. I'm just going to, okay, it's actually, okay, so it's actually opening up now. So it's doing the same thing, it's loading up the system. And then we just need to we simply need to wait for it to finish loading up. And then once it finishes loading, we should then be good to start configuring, doing the basic configuration again. I'm actually thinking of backing up the Oregon router and restoring it on the North Virginia router, but for learning purposes I'm just going to repeat the process so that you get the chance to see what I just did all over again. It's taking a bit longer than I was expecting it to. Why are you taking too long? Okay. Alright, so it's now loading the system actually. It could be because I used a different VGA adapter for this virtual machine. That might be impacting performance. So I might need to switch it back later. Okay, so it's actually starting up now. Or maybe I could actually consider giving this VM more memory. Okay, so I'm going to log in now. So the username is admin and the password is blank. Hit in and then we're in. So we're going to check if there's any IP addresses that have actually been auto-configured. So it's IP address print and there's nothing. And then I'm also going to check if all the interfaces are there. So the command is actually interface print. Okay, so we've got the two interfaces. So I'm then going to set an IP address for this router. So it's IP address add address equal to 192.168.57.201. Okay, so I'm actually going to give this a .201 address, or maybe let me say 210. And then it's going to be a /24 address, and then the interface is going to be either 1. Oh, I don't know why it did that. Okay, so I'm going to do an IP address print. There you have it. So we've got that IP address configured, and then I'm going to test with the ping command, ping 192.168.57.1. Okay, so we can actually reach the gateway. So I should actually be able to reach the Oregon router. So I'm just going to ping it real quick, 192.168.57.200. Okay, so we can actually reach that. So you actually need to do this check so that you know that the two routers can see each other before you can make any additional or changes, or before you can actually proceed with the configuration. So I'm then going to connect to this router, the North Virginia router, using Winbox. So I'm actually going to try to open a new Winbox window. Okay, let me actually open up a new Winbox window. Where is the option run command? And then I am actually going to open a new Winbox window. By the way, I actually have a video that I actually recorded the other day on how you can install Winbox on a Mac. So if you want to check that video out, I'm actually going to leave a link in the video description on how you can actually set up Winbox on a Mac. Okay, so I've actually opened another window of Winbox, and then we're actually going to connect to the other router. So it's 192.168.57.210. Then I'm just going to click on connect. So I've actually connected to the North Virginia router. Let me just confirm that this is the Oregon one that's actually been already configured. So this is the North Virginia router that we're actually going to configure now. So click on, actually we're going to start with the password. So click on system and then click on password. So we're actually going to leave the old password blank, and then I'm actually going to type in a new password for the router. So you just need to type in the password twice, and then we should now be good to go. So click on change, and then I usually like to reconnect whenever I change the password for a router. You just click run a command, and then I'm actually then going to open Winbox once again. Okay, and then run. Okay, should open now. Okay, alright, so I'm just going to type in the new password, click on it. Okay, so we've reconnected to the North Virginia router, and then we're actually then going to proceed with the configuration. So click on quick set, and then on the configuration section select router, and then on the address acquisition section you need to select static. Then on the gateway type in 192.168.57.1. then on the DNS servers it's 8.8.8.8. Then on the local network section you then need to select they need to type in a LAN address. So in this case I'm going to type in 192.168.20.1. then I'm going to leave the default subnet mask of /24. then click on bridge all LAN ports, DHCP server and NAT. So on the DHCP server range I'm going to set it to 192.168.20.10 all the way up to 192.168.20.254. Okay, and then on the router identity I'm going to set it to Mikrotik, North Virginia. Okay, and then click on apply. So we've actually configured our Mikrotik router. Let me just click on apply once more, and then let me just check the addresses here. Okay, alright, so the basic setup is done. So the next thing to do is to then configure the IPsec tunnel, which is what we're actually going to do. Okay, so before we complete the configuration, I just wanted to ask you guys to like and subscribe to the channel, so to help the channel grow so that we can even help more and more people. Okay, so I'm actually in the North Virginia router, and then to configure the IPsec tunnel, click on IPsec. So once you click on IPsec, the first thing to do is to create a profile. So click on the profile tab and then click on the add button. So I'm going to call this profile North Virginia profile. So it's the North Virginia profile. On the hash algorithms drop down menu, select SHA-256. PRIF algorithms, just leave it as it is, and then unselect the AES-128 and 3-DES encryption algorithms. Select AES-256, and then on the DH group you need to make sure you select mod P248, and then on the lifetime select 1 day and make sure you select the NAT traversal checkbox. So once you've done these selections, click on apply, then click on OK. So we've actually created a profile, and then the next thing to do is to create a PA. So click on PS and then click on the plus button. So I'm actually going to call this the North Virginia PA. So it's the North Virginia PA, and on the address I'm going to put in the IP address for the Oregon Mikrotik router. So it's 192.168.57.200. And then on the local address, I'm actually going to type in the IP address for the North Virginia router, which is this one. So it's 192.168.57.210. And then on the exchange mode, you need to make sure you select main, and then you click on the apply button. Okay, so we actually created a PA on an IPsec PA on the North Virginia router. The next thing to do is to set a password for the connection. So click on identities and click on the plus button. It's actually a pre-shared key that the two routers actually agree on. They actually check each other for this pre-shared key for security reasons. I actually recommend that you set one. So make sure you select your PA, and then on the auth method you need to make sure you select pre-shared key, and then on the secret I'm just going to type in 1 2 3 4 5 6. But you need to make sure you type in a much more secure password than just that. But just for learning purposes, I'm just going to use 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then click on apply. So we've actually created a pre-shared key that the two routers will actually share when they are initiating the IPsec connection. The next thing to do is to create a proposal. So click on the proposal tabs, the proposals tab, and then click on add. Then I'm actually going to name it North Virginia proposal. So it's actually a proposal. Okay. And then on the auth algorithms, I'm going to select SHA-256. And then on the encryption algorithms, I'm going to select AES-256 CBC. And then you need to make sure you set the lifetime to 1 day, which is 24/00/00. And then the PFS group, you need to select mod P 2048. So once you've made these selections, click on apply and then click on OK. So we've actually created a proposal. And then the final step is to create a policy. So in the IPsec policy, it actually defines what traffic you want to share over the IPsec tunnel. So on the PA, select the North Virginia PA and then click on the tunnel checkbox. On the source address, actually we're going to type in the LAN address for this router, which is actually a 20.1/24 address. So source address is going to be 192.168.20.0/24. Exactly the network address. And then on the destination address, it's going to be 192.168.10.0/24. And then you need to click on action, and then on the proposal drop-down menu, you need to select the North Virginia proposal, and then click on apply and OK. So we've actually configured the IPsec tunnel on the North Virginia router, and then we need to do the exact same thing on the Oregon router. So I'm going to open the Winbox window for the Oregon router, and then we're actually going to do the same exact thing. So click on IPsec. Okay, and then we're actually going to start by configuring a profile. So click on the plus button on the profiles tab, and then I'm going to call this Oregon profile. So this is an Oregon profile. Hash algorithms to SHA-256, and then PRF algorithms, I'm going to leave it on auto, and then unselect the 3 days and AES-128 encryption algorithms, and make sure you select AES-256. And then on the DH group, just make sure you just choose the mod P248, and then you need to make sure you've clicked on the NAT traversal checkbox, and then click on apply and then click on OK. So we've actually created a profile, and then the next thing to do is to create a PA. So click on the PS tab, and then click on the plus button at the top of the page. Then we're actually going to call this Oregon PA. And then on the address, it's actually going to be the IP address for the North Virginia router, which is exactly 192.168.57.210 actually. And then on the local address, it's going to be the IP address for the Oregon router, which is 192.168.57.200. And then you need to make sure you select the Oregon profile, and then you need to then click on apply. So let me just check the PA on the North Virginia router to make sure that I actually did the right thing. Okay, so I need to change the profile there. Okay, so once you've created a PA on the Oregon router, you then need to create an identity. So click on the identities tab and then click on the plus button at the top of the page. Select the Oregon PA and then make sure the auth method is set to pre-shared key. Then the secret needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then click on apply and then click on OK. So once you've actually done that, click on the proposals tab and then click on the plus button at the top of the page. Then we're going to actually name this Oregon. It's actually an Oregon proposal. And then the auth algorithms, I'm going to set it to SHA-256, and then the encryption algorithm is actually set to AES-256 CBC. And then the lifetime needs to be 240000, and then the PFS group needs to be mod P2048. So once you've actually made these selections, click on apply and then click on OK. And then we now need to create a policy. So click on the plus button on the policy tab and then select the Oregon PA and select the tunnel button. So the source address needs to be the network address for the LAN network address for the Oregon router. Let me just quickly double check that. It's actually a .10.1 network, 10.0 actually. So it's 192.168.10.0/24. And then the destination address 192.168.20.0 20.0/24. And then you need to click on the action tab and then you need to select the Oregon proposal and then you click on apply and then you click on OK. So at this stage, if you look on the phase 2 stage, you should see an established message. So if you see that, then it means that the IPSEC tunnel is now up. So actually going to check the router logs, and you should see that it's actually the ISACAMP SA is actually established there. We're probably getting errors here because we're actually doing the setup. So when you're doing the setup, you're obviously going to get a few errors because when you start configuring IPSEC, it actually starts to try to set up the connection. So the status is the phase 2 state is now established, and I'm actually going to check the North Virginia router. Let me just check. Okay. Okay. So the phase 2 is actually now established. So the next thing that we're actually going to do, which is actually the final thing, is to test the connectivity between the two routers. So click on new terminal, and then I'm going to first run the command IP address print so that I'm sure of which side I am. So okay, so from the North Virginia router, I'm going to test connectivity to the Oregon router. So I'm going to ping 192.168. Actually, before I actually do this, there's one more step that I actually need to do, which is to configure NAT traversal in the Mikrotik file. So click on IP firewall and then click on the NAT tab. So you need to create a rule, a source NAT rule, which actually bypasses the NAT traversal that the default internet access rule does. So on the change, select source NAT. On the source address, it needs to be 192.168.20.0/24, and then the destination address needs to be 192.168.10.0/24, and then the action needs to be accept, and then you just need to apply that rule. So once you apply it, you actually need to push it forward to the top, so that you bypass the default masquerade rule, the network address translation that happens by the default internet access masquerade rule. That is where I'm actually highlighting now. So you need to do the same thing on the Oregon router. So click on IP file and then click on the NAT tab. Then you need to create a new rule. So click on the plus button and then it needs to be a source NAT. And then the addresses, in this case, is a .10 address. So it's as a source, so it's 192.168.10.0/24. And on the destination, it's 192.168.20.0/24. And then on the action, you need to accept. So once you actually do that, you push the rule forward to the top, and then we should now be good to go. So let me actually test connectivity. So click on new terminal, and then first I'm going to run IP address print, and then it's actually going to show me the IP addresses that we've got here. So we've got 192.168.10.1 on the bridge interface on the Oregon router, and we want to try to access the .20 address from this router. So it's going to be ping 192.168.20.1, and then we're going to use the source address of 192.1. Sorry, I left out an equal sign. 192.168.10.1, and there you have it. We can actually access the .20 network from the Oregon router. So we have actually established an IPsec tunnel to North Virginia from Oregon. So now we need to test if we can access Oregon, the Mikrotik Oregon router, from the North Virginia router. So I'm going to switch over to the North Virginia router, and then I'm actually going to click on new terminal. So run IP address print. So this actually prints out all the IP addresses that I've got here. So I've got a 192.168.20.1 IP address, and then we actually want to ping Oregon from here. So what you simply need to do is to ping 192.168.10.1, of which, if you remember, this IP address is the bridge interface for the Oregon router. And then I'm actually going to use a source address of 192.168.20.1, and there you have it. We've actually gained access to the .10 network on the Oregon router. So there you have it, folks. Basically, that's how you can quickly set up an IPsec site-to-site VPN between two Mikrotik routers. So the reason why I actually named them the Mikrotik routers Oregon and North Virginia is so you can get an appreciation of what you can actually accomplish with a Mikrotik router, two Mikrotik routers in two separate locations. So you can actually replicate this setup between two Mikrotik routers in two different networks. You just need to make sure that you've got a public static IP address on each router. And you can actually use this video to set up a on-premise to cloud link. So if you want to link your on-premise network with a cloud hosted network on Amazon or Microsoft Azure or whatever your cloud provider is, you can actually use this same exact setup that I've just shown you to link the two. So I hope this tutorial has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.